Hi, everybody, and welcome to Divinely Empowered with Antonia. Today we have Debbi Dachinger, who is an ET contactee. She's a shaman, author, podcaster, journalist, singer, Broadway star, all of it. Welcome, Debbi. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so from Broadway to Starships, how did this journey begin?
Very unexpectedly. And there was a lot of pushing from other factors that were outside of me because I wouldn't have driven my car, my life's car in this direction. But I'm very grateful I'm here. I started out as an actress and a singer from the time I was very tiny. That was my profession. That's what I did. And well into my adulthood, I had a big change and I wasn't clear how to navigate that change because the identity of acting and singing was all I had known. And so I released it. I finally surrendered because it was such a pain point for me. And then I started doing other things, following energy, following excitement, and choosing those things. Eventually, that led me into radio. I had a radio show called Dare to Dream, and that was a terrestrial radio that was here in the town I now live in Burbank, California. And it was a talk show. And so along the lines, I started writing books, Dare to Dream, and I started doing a lot of media stuff. But then, as a very spiritual person my whole life, I also had a lot of judgments about extraterrestrials, UFOs. I was pretty sure that was not true, and that people who were very reputable in my field who talked about it, it was a huge eye roll for me. I was really skeptical. And then I left this country. I was doing some really deep healing work. And when I went out of country, every night during this deep healing work, an energy that I define as source energy, that was a female energy and divine, came to visit me. And she started with the first night by saying, "Debbi, you're a healer, you're a shaman, and you're a priestess." And I found these words confounding because I knew a lot of healers. All my friends were healers and very powerful folks, but I did not know in myself any of these kind of abilities. So that was very confusing. Then the fact that she called me a shaman, or as you say, shaman, I thought that was very embarrassing because I understood that to become a shaman, lineage chose you, spirit chose you, that you had spent decades of your life in a discipline, that you had these incredible abilities to shapeshift and transcend this reality. You know, I'm thinking, this is very lofty. So all of this, I was in a place of argument, like, that's not me. But she came, the divine, every single night for 4 nights, back to back. And every night she said, "Debbi, you're a shaman, you're a priestess, you're a healer." And she started showing me different aspects of myself. So I left that country and that deep healing work. I came back to the USA. I shared it with a friend of mine who was a very gifted healer. And he said, "I'll tell you what, why don't we do some regression therapy? Let's just see what comes up." And I'm very grateful to him for that because I immediately saw I had had many, many shamanic lifetimes as a male, as a female. So that became illuminated. And then in our final session, I saw myself as a female. I was over 7 feet tall, extremely skinny. And I was a Mayan, a leader of her people, a priestess. And in this session, I spent a considerable amount of time with this being, with this aspect of me. And before I left, I wanted to understand her because she was so poised, so powerful, and had abilities I hadn't seen any human have. And I was asking her how she manifested what she did. And I had a lot of assumptions. She shook her head, she raised a finger, and she just telepathically said to me, "I'm not from here. I'm from another galaxy." And so I came out of that session and I realized there are not just past lives for me, for anybody else, there are also considerable galactic lives, and I have just been shown one. So all this skepticism, all this judgment that I had, I realized there is true. These exist, these other species, galaxies, universes, all of it is true, and I've been a big part of it. So I went from the Broadway singing, acting into this experience. It was unprecedented for me, but once I got into it, I was incredibly hungry. What does this mean, this shamanism? What does this mean, this extraterrestrial, other galaxies? And so I opened myself up to extremely deep research, both as an aggregator, but also in the human realm, in the heart realm. Everything from galactic readings to putting myself in years and years of working with the greatest shamans around the world and learning these healing techniques and what it meant to be them, and all of these things I've been able to actionably put out into the world now as a shamanic practitioner myself to help heal people both galactically. Both worlds for me are a marriage. The galaxy, the extraterrestrial, and the shamanism for me are a perfect marriage for healing, for existing, for working with people, and for the work I do today. So it completely changed me. Yeah.
So, Japan, we've all had past lives on other planets. How does that all work?
I would say not all of us. I would say the vast majority of us have had many galactic incarnations and one or some earthly incarnations. But there's also a lot of people who have just chosen to be here on Earth, whatever their soul needed or decided to choose for their experiences and lessons and so forth, or just to come help. But I would say, yes, a vast majority of us have had multiple galactic incarnations. And for people who have ever read any of Dolores Cannon's books, phenomenal books, The Convoluted Universe, and there's like book 1 through 7, 9. I mean, they're all amazing to read about these people who are under hypnosis and see they have literally been particles, they've been clouds, they've been animals, they've been planets, they've been beings that created planets. So we've had many, many incarnations and various ways of being, and not all of them have looked like this.
So, is there any way to find out what planets we might have been from and other characteristics you can talk about with different ET races?
Yeah, there's absolutely ways. I mean, first you can ask. You can get into a very still space and ask. I always, when I work with people and I do these monthly shamanic group healings for folks who want to get the galactic shamanic healings, and I always say whether they're meeting their spirit animal or they're meeting their galactic family, please get out of your head, because your head's going to say, well, I'm like this, I must be that. Well, I always see crows, crow must be my spirit animal. And then you disallow that information that is inherently yours to come through. So I think it's very important to get out of the way and to let what needs to happen happen. If you don't know, then another option is you could get a galactic Akashic record reading. And if those two are not avenues you want to go down, I do have a free gift for people. And you can learn your galactic ancestry and your galactic lineage. There's a video that I do with this galactic historians, one of the paramount galactic historians that we have on Earth today. She's brilliant. And we go through 19 different species, physically what you look like, career-wise, what you're probably doing, your strengths, your weaknesses, all of it. And so you can start identifying who you are and what you do. And that's, by the way, that's at DebbiDachinger.com/Starseed. That part for you.
And can you explain some characteristics of some of the ET races? What do they look like? What do they act like?
Yeah, I mean, well, we've got dolphin races from Sirius. There's the planet Sirius. There's a lot of dolphin and aquatic beings. There are also dog planets. There are lion beings from Lyra, although our planet doesn't exist very much. I'm deeply connected with the Lyrans. Most of us are refugees. And if you want to talk about the Lyrans, we often look like lion or feline beings. We've got the eyes, we've got the cheekbones, we've got the hair. We're strong people, we're athletic people, we're leaders, we are doers. It's so funny, I once, Antonia, when I was an actress, I was going to get a haircut before I had a photo shoot. And I had my hair cut by a woman, and I don't know what she was thinking because I had seen her before, but she was behind me. I told her, just trim my hair. And she was coming behind like this with the scissors. She was cutting off my mane. Can I tell you, I was sitting in her chair just weeping. I was such a mess that she cut my hair. And that is a thing, like for Lyrans, like do not mess with the mane. So our manes are real. A lot of them are very tall. I'm not necessarily, I'm kind of in the middle, but a lot of them are very tall. And they're bonders. You think about the lions in the jungle, they're very bonded to their mate, to their cubs, their family, but don't mess with them. They mean business, they have boundaries. Then, the Pleiades, there's many different planets and the ways they look. You've got the indigenous tribes who mostly come from the Pleiades. So those will be darker skinned, darker haired. They'll often become the shamans on these planets. You'll also have very tall beings. God, there's so many. There's the Yayel. The Yayel are quite beautiful. They're just beautiful. They're half gray. They're half, sorry, I have so much information coming through. So, okay, the Yayel are hybrids. They're half human. They don't all look like this, but they're often blonde. They have exquisite green or blue eyes, highly advanced. They are our children since a lot of their genetics comes from us through some of the abduction programs or the soul agreed to do it programs. There are the Andromedans. There are the praying mantis, who are great scientists and healers. There are so many planets. There's the Orion beings, the Andromedan beings, who are great technicians. Arcturians are tall, very tall. They're very interesting. I had a client for a while who was definitely a hybrid on this planet, and she knew it. Her father was on the Arcturian ship. Her mother was an Earth being. And you knew immediately she was unlike anybody else. The way she talked, it was very interesting, the way she looked. But they're generally very tall, very, very advanced, very into the healing arts and so forth. So that's just a little bit of an overview. And part B of that is that there's also an inner world. Some people call it a hollow earth, but there are definitely beings that exist inside Earth. They've existed in there since ancient times, and there's all sorts of beings there for all sorts of reasons. Most of them, again, are not interested in us, but there are a few of them who are guardians of humanity. They've been there for us since the cataclysms throughout Earth's history. So they do care deeply. And they're also very aware of the kind of Earth beings we are. So I want to say that so religion plays a little piece in this, only from the point of view that we were taught, for those of us who grew up religious, I didn't really, but for people who grew up very religious, they were taught, you have to be a good person if you want to get into heaven, let's say for example. And what's very interesting about that, most of us who are here don't believe in heaven and hell. That's just a construct made to control people. But I want to say being a good person, having a good heart, having good intentions, having good actions is actually enormously important for some of these beings who are not only just aware of us and our behaviors as individuals and as a collective, but they have saved sectors of humanity throughout Earth's history because of these good, decent behaviors. So it's important because we live in a planet of duality, and there's an enormous amount of greed from a corporate level and from other levels, individual levels. And we see today that those things keep coming out to be looked at, that they're not being accepted, creates a lot of chaos. But I think more and more it's going to be important how we behave, who we choose to show up as, because they are aware. They're very aware of us.
I think it authorizes psychic attacks and spiritual attacks as well if we're not kind to each other.
That it's spiritually taxing. You're going a little in and out.
I think you can. I think that it authorizes spiritual attacks when we're not kind to each other. Then we're more likely to have karma or spiritual attacks happen to us. I think it's our best defense, really, against the dark side.
I agree, because our frequency is very important. And this is when, people say you've got an attachment, you've got something attached to you, you've got something very dark attached to you. I mean, I work with a lot of healers, so constantly, this is something that comes up, but it happens also to animals. Like, you have to make sure your frequency, keep it high. And not everybody's perfect. So, you can even go into a meditation or whatever your practice is. I've got my own shamanic practice that I do that is very beautiful and filling. And so I make sure, even if something happened that threw me off my game or made me feel a certain way, and we're human. We came here as human beings, so we're going to have things come up. And just, with great respect for the resiliency of humans and feelings. So you do your practice. It can take 15 minutes, but you raise your vibration again. And it's like barnacles. Things do not have to stay attached to you. But if you're going to stay in a very greedy place, or mistreating yourself or others, or taking and not giving, or not knowing how to receive, or all these things that are very simple practices, these are things that keep your vibration up. And I've had people ask me before, like, well, what do you do when something big happens in your life? And one of my first go-tos is giving. I'll show up and I'll do a healing for a group of people, and they're receiving, and it's very beautiful, but the energy that's flowing through me for them is incredibly frequency changing. And from wherever I started to wherever I end up working on people, I have shifted all my energy too. So another way we can do that, if you don't have a practice, is to give of the gifts you have, because God knows the planet needs it right now.
That's beautiful. Definitely. I think that helps. So have you ever met any ETs in person yourself?
Yes, I have.
Explain some more, please.
I mean, yeah, I have. Yeah, I have. I have. Most of them have been on the ethereal plane, meaning, like I was saying before, it's very difficult for them to come and manifest here physically. It is not impossible, but it's very difficult because their frequency is so incredibly different than ours. So often it will be through somebody for me, or they have visited me many times in my dreams, and I've had remarkable dreams, better than flying dreams, to be connected with these beings. At times they have been beings of pure light. It feels very familial. That's the best way I can explain. And it is, if you can imagine just feeling so loved and seen with zero effort to just be and to be loved, incredible. And then also, my lion family has come forward many, many times. I know that they're with me. And also, a lot of extraterrestrials have this is such private stuff, so forgive me if I'm looking away and sort of connecting with the information, but it's really deeply private, these relationships. And I'm just choosing to share them, but to say, I know that many of them are involved with my career because given to my own devices, I wouldn't even be on this show with you. I wouldn't have been on Gaia TV being interviewed and all the many places I've been and the stages I've been speaking. There's a part of me that is very reticent to be in the spotlight and that prefers to put the spotlight on other people. And they weren't having it. And they orchestrated so many things in my life without me speaking a word about myself and who I was and what I was doing. And my life is still radically changing. And of course, they would never do this if I wasn't saying yes. But I feel like if it is my life path to share this information galactically, shamanically, and what I also see to be paths to healing everything on this planet right now, I feel like how could I not play my part? So they're very much involved in my life and very much aware of me and probably here with us right now and during this conversation, loving on us, appreciating us for opening this up for people.
It's interesting you'll have this Lyran connection because that's the one that keeps coming through for me. People keep saying that I may be Lyran. So interesting that you've saying about you being Lyran. And I have a big affinity to cat or for cat. What?
I could see that for you.
Yeah, I got the name as well.
You do. And, maybe that Starseed gift would be good for you too, to see if those characteristics align for you. But,
the other Pleiadian as well, maybe. I don't know. There's a few. I mean, people say Pleiadian, but that's, a healer. But the Arcturian, Andromedans I get as well. I did an Andromedan quiz and I got Andromedan a while ago, but Lyra keeps coming through as well.
Well, the Andromedans are incredible. I mean, they're really advanced civilization. They're all about supporting us right now for timeline shifts. Their technology is beyond. So it would be beautiful to be an Andromedan and come from there. But they are very knowing of us and what we're doing and all the portals that are opening up for us. By the way, we're in an incredible time right now in the history of humanity.
Hey, isn't it? Yeah, it's just opening, so it's special for us.
And even beyond Lionsgate, there are other portals that are opening this particular month in August that haven't been opened for 12 plus years, and they are all aware of the potentiality. So I just want to say to everybody, if you were going to do any kind of practice, manifestation, and please manifest for yourself, but please manifest for all of humanity and for the beautiful Mother Earth. We need it. And you are that powerful, period, but also that powerful in this portal. I believe it is, we all know August 8th. We're ready in the portal of Lionsgate. The peak is on August 8th, but Lionsgate goes till August 12th. And then I believe it's the 18th and the 21st of August, but you could do it any day this month. Things are going to be open that haven't been open in decades. And this is a massive manifestation time to harness what you want the rest of your life to look like. And by the way, it's not just my career, my money, my car, my friends, my love, etc. If the rest of the planet Earth is not reflecting peace and harmony and beauty and sustainability and health, we can't be that either. So we must want that for the children, the women, the earthlings, and for the rest of the planet. So please play your part in this month. We have everything contributing astrologically and galactically to us this month.
That's amazing and exciting. So what do you recommend people do in the next month to manifest? Do you have any techniques you can suggest?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that it's really important to remember that we can act as a literal conduit, like an antenna, and to go out, I say in your backyard, your front yard, put your feet in the grass, no shoes. We must ground, but also connect with the earth. So root deep in the earth. But I also want to say, if you don't live in a house, if you're in an apartment, go to a park. There is always grass somewhere. So go there, put your feet in the grass, no shoes, and see literal roots coming out. Breathe with Mother Earth. She's so gorgeous and powerful. And then start to open your crown chakra and breathe with the cosmos. And it's eventually you want to see all the golden white light from the cosmos come through every particle, all healing all your DNA, all your cells, all your organs, coming through you all the way deep into Mother Earth, and then bring all of Mother Earth's beauty and resilience and power and nurturing, healing again through all your cells, all your particles, all your DNA, and back up. And you can see both passing each other, and just stay in that. That alone will change you. And then absolutely be sure, if you want to call in your galactic guides or your archangels or Mother Earth and the cosmos, all of it. And then just allow yourself to marinate in that. And then at some point, let it be known, this is and not everybody visualizes, it can be your picture, or it can be just words. Let me be of service. Let me be the healer I came here to be. Let me move to this place I've dreamt of. Let's allow, let's receive, let's for the children, let's for all women, let's for all the immigrants. Let's for peace on this earth, for all countries, that this is not even a thought form anymore, that we go to a much higher vibration and frequency, whatever that is for you. Your words, your ideas matter, but just be at peace with that. Put that back into the world as though it is so, for yourself and for others. And then when you're complete, bring back your energy. You want to close off your crown chakra, bring back your energy, close off your feet, and then go out into the day. And I promise you, you will be so different. And do it consistently. Consistency is very powerful, and especially this month. Go for it.
That's exciting. So what do you think is upcoming with the Galactics? Do you think we're going to have contact in person soon? What's happening in the next couple of years?
Definitely, we are going to have contact. It's not going to look like most people think it is, only because we've seen so many movies and TV shows that have depicted it. Exactly. And they've already done that. They've been there and done that. They work with the government already, and they have, since the 1920s and 40s. So it's like, yeah.
What was it in Pentagon? What's that book series? Is it the Venusian who went to was in the White House of the Pentagon?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen pictures of this gentleman. Absolutely. I mean, very, very attractive man in his Earth suit, so to speak. But yeah, they've been, since Eisenhower, and Truman and all of that, the Galactics have been involved. So they're not so interested because the governments have not actually fulfilled their piece. And the governments have said, oh yeah, you give us your advanced technology. And by the way, our cell phones, that's galactic technology. That's not from Earth. So they made a lot of trades and, on good faith, okay, you give me your advanced technology and we'll give you some humans to adopt. And also we'll start telling people about you. Well, they didn't, right? They lied. But that is also why we see more whistleblowers coming forward. The whistleblowers can say this much, not all of it, but they are starting to, in dribbles, share this information to prepare us. Obviously, people like you, me, and your audience, we're waking up. So we already know the truth. So this is not going to be a big scary experience. And yes, they're definitely coming 2026, 2027. There's going to be things that are unprecedented, and that's so soon. And from there forward, we are more and more going to start opening to becoming part of the galactic community. And it will be benevolent.
Do you think we'll be able to travel to other planets or galaxies soon?
Yeah, I think we already have that technology. It's just not used. But yes, um, absolutely, I do. I also think that they're a little reticent because we have not had the best behavior on this planet. And so they may not necessarily be thrilled about us jumping into a craft that can go visit them if we're still very warlike. So I think there'll be protection measures in place until we start to show that we can behave as harmoniously and lovingly and interestingly as they do. They're way more interested. We are not like kindergartners. Extraterrestrials do not look at us, well, the benevolent ones don't look at us as though we're far behind them. They are fascinated by all of our emotions, by all of our feelings. And so that plus our resilience, plus our ability to love is fascinating to them. And then they have things we're fascinated by. So it would be more of an exchange of that and plus music. Can you imagine extraterrestrial music, extraterrestrial art and culture, and the ways they express themselves, the ways they connect? I know for a fact that the Pleiadians, they connect with all of nature, the Yayel. They go up to trees and they put a hand on a tree and they ask the tree their story. And then the tree asks them their story. I mean, that to me is quite beautiful, an amazing way to exist and to exchange information. So I think when we can start getting to that level of beingness, they will be way more interested in us having that kind of technology and using it.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get to sort of galactic tourism at some point and really get to explore things. That would be wonderful. Do you think that's going to happen in the next few years, or is that further away?
I think that's way further away. Yeah. 30 years, though, within the next 30 years, yes. So, and depending on somebody's age out there, some of us are not going to be here for that, and some of you will. So, it's going to be amazing. I mean, we are in an incredible time. And I know a lot of people are very responsive to the chaos, but I think we also have to pay attention to the beauty that is happening right now and is possible. And we're all in charge of that.
That's exciting. So you work with DNA activation. Can you speak more on how that works, please?
Yeah, DNA, well, gosh, there's so much I could say. Okay. DNA is like a satellite. It's literally communication. Um, there's a place called the Human Genome Project, and there's a lot of scientists there who do very extraordinary work on genetics. And they have found and put out scientific papers that have explained how incredibly complicated our DNA is. And so, to that point, they have found mathematical equations and pictographs like hieroglyphs in it that point to the fact that it's a beacon or a signal. So, specifically, who is the signal to? It is to the extraterrestrials. And the advanced ones who genetically changed us over time. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of years ago. So I want to give you that scientific fact. So if that's a fact, then it is mutable, which means that we can actually influence our DNA. You think about, there have been people that we've heard about, this person miraculously healed, they had cancer, or they had something extraordinary that should have been life defining or death defining, but somehow miraculously they were able to heal it, and other things in life. So, how does that happen? It's because we can literally inform our cells, we can literally inform our DNA, and we can make changes at that level. which is really exciting because when you're going that deep, then everything else inherently has to change. And so I think you're speaking specifically about, I just did a YouTube video that I put out, and I was really there just to talk. And I was doing my weekly show, and every so often I do my own show without a guest. And I started feeling the energy of everybody out there collectively. And I was like, wow, this is heavy, man. So I just grabbed my shamanic feather and I just said, we need to do some clearings, people. We need to start shifting your energy. And I started in one place, and then I started getting into their DNA and cleaning and clearing. And it was incredible because it was a 40-minute video. I would say after 20 minutes of that, I literally could feel the collective shift. And by the time the video was done, everything had changed. It was very peaceful and blissful and calm energy. So I believe very much. I do these monthly shamanic galactic healings, and people join from all over the world because there's replays. But I work with people where they're at. I don't know what it's going to be like when they show up that particular month. I know I have something in mind, but inherently I have to go super deep it's in the Peruvian language, in the Quechua language, we call it hucha. It's heavy, dense energy. And there's a lot to be cleaned out right now, whether it's ancestral, whether it's collective, whether it's past lives, doesn't matter to me. I don't even need to know the who, what, where, how, but just to clean and clear all of that. So DNA has the potentiality to be shifted positively, to be healed, as well as our genetics.
Yeah, so I think I'm working at the moment. I'm teaching a class which is in a few weeks' time, and the subject of the class is about the human genome. And there's 20 to 21,000 genes that we have. And I've been working recently. I've been able to dematerialize cysts and tumors, and I've been able to do that in 3 minutes. I've got an ultrasound footage, which is really fun. You could actually see it just disappear, which is based on the great Braden video you may have seen from the 90s, where there was a Chinese hospital in Beijing where they managed to dematerialize a bladder tumor. I'm able to recreate that with benign tumors and cysts at the moment. But I've been trying to figure out how to do that with cancerous tumors. And I've realized that realizing is through the genes, because Bruce Lipton speaks about active genes which are activated when you have cancer. He said between 10 and 20 genes are activated when you have cancer. I think there's actually a lot more, because there's activating and deactivating. And I think from an energetic perspective, there are more, but maybe from a genetic or a sort of 3D perspective, I'm sure he's correct. So what I'm doing at the moment is sort of, I've just downloaded the genome. I'm just integrating it at the moment. And then I'm going to see how many genes are in the wrong or the less optimal position. And I'm just working on someone at the moment who's I've got type 1 diabetes, and it looks like things are settling just by, it's activating and deactivating. It's not just activating. It's some things are switched on and some things are switched off. And I think with cancer, it's largely the emotion behind it is grief. And I think what happens is we have a situation where we have this gut-wrenching, horrible situation. We find out our mother's died, for example. And that huge grief, that huge shock, I think in that moment, the genes either activate or deactivate. It's almost like a toggle. They switch one way or the other. And then that, I think, is what holds the emotion in place. And then the emotions and the genes will then create the disease. So I think that if you could actually work on the toggles, the genes activating and deactivating, then the diseases should disappear quite quickly. And if you can do the whole human genome, you might be able to do all diseases at once in a person. That's my current project.
Awesome. That's so exciting. Exactly. I love that you're doing that work, and that there's people fortunate enough to work with you on that. And also, the fact that you even believe in it, that's a precursor to all of this. But, this is very scientific, what Antonia and I are talking about. This isn't just some metaphysical, we wish. Francis Crick, who discovered DNA in the 1920s and won a Nobel Prize for this discovery, you can imagine the 1920s, somebody talking about this, but he said it is impossible that DNA is from Earth. This is so complex, and it shows all the changes that have happened to DNA that has to come from advanced civilizations. So, if that is so, and that is scientific, and also this Human Genome Project has proven the same, that we have advanced civilizations in us, then what you're saying and what I'm saying is correct, because advanced civilizations, we talk about med beds, we talk about their ability to self-heal, heal others. They don't go through what we do with surgeries and terrible medications and things, but they can heal. So if we have that inside of us, then we have the propensity to heal at that level, to go deep into genetics and DNA and make those shifts, turning on, turning off, writing the shift.
I think that's cellular voltage, though. I think there's I did a healing on a friend of mine, Lisa. She had a fight with a blender and mangled her finger, and after 6 weeks, it went necrotic. And necrosis is cell death; it's rotting flesh, as you probably know. Anyway, I've been looking into Dr. Warburg and Dr. Becker, who were looking into the voltage of cells. Dr. Warburg won a Nobel Prize. He was looking into the voltage of cells and figuring out if you were 70 to 90 millivolts, you were in good health. If you were 30 to 50 millivolts, you're in poor health. And if you had some awful micronuclear disease, you'd be about 20 millivolts. And I tuned into her finger and it was 20 millivolts. And then there was Dr. Becker, who was he was an orthopedic surgeon who started working in a veterinary school, and he started looking at salamanders and how salamanders would regenerate their leg, a tail, or half an eyeball. And what he did was he decided to amputate the leg of a salamander and see what he could see. And he checked the electrical current around where the leg had formerly been. And there was a surge of energy followed by a pulsing. And then he thought, well, that's interesting. Maybe that's to do with the regrowth that they have. So he amputated the leg of a frog, and then he put the same current around the frog. So he had the surge of energy followed by a pulsing, and the frog's leg grew back. And this was in the 1970s. So at that point, when Lisa's finger was necrotic, I mimicked that energy, that surge of energy followed by a pulsing. And a week later, her finger was no longer necrotic, which is completely impossible. And after about a year, it fattened back because the flesh was missing. It fattened back out. Then the nerve endings came back, and now she's just got a minor scar. So I think that regeneration is about the voltage. So I think there are various different elements towards healing. And I've done, I'm bored in here. No, I've done reverse aging as well. So I've actually raised the voltage of my cells, and I look years younger than I did by raising my cellular voltage. So if you include all these different elements, I think you can be in pretty good health.
Can I ask you, when you say that, because that's very interesting what you did for her finger, the anti-aging, how do you do that? How do you change the surge in the voltage? What are you using?
Well, I think that what happens is as we age, our voltage decreases. I think that when people get into menopause, you go to it's around 60 millivolts, and then it just decays as you get older. And I think it happens. So when you're in utero, you're around 150 millivolts. And then when you're born, it's 120. And as we age, that just goes down. And then if you have some awful disease, that goes down, and it's your life force energy. So I created a new energy to raise people's life force. And it was really interesting. I had the first people I worked on, one of my friends, Karen, and she was in perimenopause, and she's a very energetic person. I've known her since I was 18, and she's teaches Pilates, goes running every morning. She's a very full of life person, but because she was in perimenopause, she was very tired and she wasn't getting on with things that she needed to do, and life was just a real drag for her. And I raised the voltage of her cells, and within 2 weeks, her menstrual cycle came back. And her sort of perimenopause reversed because her voltage increased.
Wow. That is awesome. I love this conversation because I don't approach it from that point of view. You do, and it's really working. And I approach it, I just know energy, and I know when I feel something in somebody and what needs to happen. So it's incredible that both of these exist. One is more scientific medical based and one is more just energy matrix based, but they work. The point is they both work. And just imagine if those two work together.
It's just it's the results. But I'm researching things. I geek out on these things constantly. I'm always researching things because I think it's really important. But I'm trying to find a way to do instant healable diseases. But the stuff that I'm really enjoying is I recently bought an ultrasound machine. So actually to watch the footage of tumors dematerialize in real time. I did a tumor in 3 minutes and there's a video footage and it just dematerializes. It just fades into nothing, which is pretty fun.
Beautiful.
I think we can all get to that stage.
Absolutely. And more people need this, rather than sit in whatever it is that you are perceiving from the world or seeing on the news. Like, this is the time, if ever, to work with a healer, to get on board, to do something consistently, whether it's once a month, once a week. Like, don't try to go it alone. It's so, so, so important to be supported because we all came here to do really big work at this time. We wouldn't be here if our soul wasn't aware of what was going to happen. So, be your optimal self and contribution and do that by getting a lot of healings.
Well, I like to empower, my company's called Divine Empowerment because I like to empower people to be able to do these things themselves and just, to people, learn these things, grow and actually be your own healer. But you have to learn from somewhere. And certainly the way that I've learned has not been the easiest way. I spent a lot of my time just, downloading, completely incapacitated for days, weeks, months, years at a time. So I think that everybody needs healing. And I think that hurt people. And I think that our lives are so full of traumas. Everyone is traumatized and it's very, very difficult to let these things go. And I think that if you sit there and lament on the horrible things that happen to you, it makes you poorly. So it's very important to just clear that out as much as you possibly can in any way with whoever.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Everybody I know who's been going through something like this, I mean, I know a lot of healers who are needing support right now too. So, and it's okay. It's a very interesting time on the planet. And so there's no shame in getting extra support, extra clearings, anything that you need to help you through this time.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so your shamanic stuff, tell me more about it. So yeah, explain a bit more about how you got into this Peruvian shamanism and all of that.
It's interesting that thus far, my lineage has been from high in the Andes. It wasn't plotted, it wasn't planned. And it just so happened that every teacher I resonated and chose to work with came from that. Excuse me. So originally, I enrolled in a 6-month certification course. It was very intense. Sorry. And I really went into it for the information. But what happened, because there was so much learning of healing modalities around a lot of things, and that we were having to trade, I was changing massively. And so that was the first thing that I got into, animal medicine, meaning the spirit medicine, which I really love because I love animals a lot. And I've done a lot of teaching of that this year, but I'm going to, because there's some relevant animals, reptiles this year. And I'm shifting into more of that. But I've worked with Puma Freddy Singona Quispe. I've worked with Don Oscar Miro Quezada. I've worked with Dr. Alberto Villodo, and others. And my original inception into all of this, before I even took the programs over these many years, is there was a Peruvian woman who lives here in my town. I just kind of feel like you can't write this stuff. I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm introduced to a woman who's a female shaman. And we worked for 8 months. We would meet in the woods, And she would take me through different experiences, very profound experiences. And I miss her. It's been many, many, many years. And sometimes I've written to her. Her name is Rosalba. And I'm like, can you even believe what's happened to me? Like, this has been a crazy journey. But I want very much to start just meeting with her, whatever my calendar will allow, because I miss working with somebody privately like that. And also being in the forest was very powerful. And she lets me bring my dog. We call my dog Shaman Shelby. And so I love that I get to have these experiences with my puppy. But yeah, I mean, the shaman path is a fantastic path for me. And I'll say, shamans throughout their history have been deeply involved with the extraterrestrials. They come from the extraterrestrials. They were put here on Earth with the indigenous people to show the way of how to honor and respect the planet, how to be in communion with the planet, and that there's animism in every single thing. How to leave this realm to go to other realms. I mean, they were doing it before there was ayahuasca. And they were deeply into all of this. And so they know how to talk to plants to get the wisdom of the plants, how to talk to the ETs who are their friends and their family, and how to go leave this realm to talk to their own lineage that has passed and is beyond the veil, and bring back profound insights and healing for their people and for the planet. So I'm into it. I mean, I think this is the way. If we could all adopt some of what the indigenous have been doing throughout their lifetimes, we would be in way better shape. And even where you are, Antonia, you've got the Aboriginal people, and they're fantastic.
She was in Australia.
Australia, yes.
I'm in England.
Got it. Sorry. Well, I mean Australia, not where you're from. Well, that would be interesting. No, they're from. Yeah, I'm from Celtic.
God, I live going with to Tintagel Castle, which was Merlin and King Arthur. I live like an hour's drive from there.
Dragons, and you've got the ley lines, and you've got Mother Mary, and you've got the Druids, and I've done all that tribe. Yeah. I said, what do you think about the?
Yeah, I saw that. What do you think about the Peruvian mummies that they found recent caves?
I don't know. I can't speak to that. I really can't speak to that.
Yeah, I wonder if they're real. I don't know. I want them to be real. You know the ones I'm speaking of, do you?
I don't know much about it. No.
Oh, because they had a whole show on Gaia about it a few years ago, but they want, yeah. I just want them to be real. Okay, so musical medicine. So you write musical medicine?
I sing. I sing in 5 languages. I sing in English. I sing in Spanish. Can you read them? No, but I know some. Absolutely. No, I don't sing in Sanskrit. We do very uplifting songs. I've been singing my whole life. And I let all of that go and I got into radio. And then I had another profound experience after my original one about shamanism and ETs. And several years after that, I had the divine come and ask me about music and why did I let it go? And it's very interesting because I come from a really musical family. My brother's whole career was as a composer, and he was very successful. My grandfather was a very well-known musician and also inventor. My mother was in music her whole life. And from the time I was little, that was my first language, was music and singing. And I let it all go. I was very at peace when I did, but I was writing books, I was speaking, I was on radio. And then the divine came and said, what happened? And so my partner's classically trained on guitar. He started playing. I started singing, and we were booked a month later. And we have been performing ever since. We do a lot of transformational events for people, very very uplifting. It's beautiful. And we're always working on new tunes. But if folks are here in Los Angeles, you could always join us. We do some gigs here in LA. We've got a healing temple behind our house, so you can join us here. Otherwise, yeah, we're on the road a lot doing our thing. When I'm not speaking, I'm singing.
So, Hollywood disclosure scene. Is there any secrets out there that we should know about?
Yeah, I guess, so yeah, I'm part of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. And what I'll say when you ask that question is, it is very interesting to me to see how much everything's making the news right now. UAPs, information about what's really going on. There are more and more film companies stepping forward. I was just interviewed for a film company the other day who wants to do some things. I guess I'm not allowed to talk about it fully, but so I'll be a little bit quiet, but they're going pretty deep about some of the conversations they want to have and the information they want to know. And it's all very advanced civilizations, stuff we don't talk about much. So what I'm saying is more and more and more, this is coming to light. The conversation is going way more mainstream. And that is really exciting to me because as people are waking up and coming into this, also the information is becoming more and more available. And that's exciting.
But is there any like tidbits or anything any exclusives that you can drop, or anything that you may have known for a long time, which isn't common knowledge about the Hollywood disclosure?
Outside of what's becoming known is, I think the conversations about what actually exists on Earth that hasn't been talked about. So, for instance, the beings who live in Hollow Earth and what goes on inside of Earth, what that looks like, what the beings are, what kind of technology they have, how many suns are there, and including what exists inside of the oceans. So I think that's a new veil that's being lifted on the conversation is who are these beings? Why are they here? What do they want or not want from us? What is that conversation? If they're here to guide us, how can we align with them? How can we not be threatening to them? And also, is there anything we need to know about the beings that live inside the ocean? Then there are places like there are secret bases in Dulce, New Mexico. And there are also, oh my God, there's even new information about the Bermuda Triangle and what exists there. That's something I want to get a lot more information about soon. But yeah, because I've actually gone through the Bermuda Triangle on a cruise ship when I spoke on a cruise ship. And it's a very interesting place, as people know, where there's like timeline shifts or a black hole or something. But there's new information connecting it to some of the experiments they did in the 1940s, like the Philadelphia experiment, which ripped a hole in time, and that some of that may have landed in what they call the Bermuda Triangle. So that's something I'm glad we're talking about because I have people I can have these conversations with, and because my mind, if I get curious about something, I have to ingest a lot of information and for edification. And so that's really where I am right now is like, what is that really all about?
Do you think it's what do you think happened there? Why do you think it's working the way it is? Do you think that there used to be Atlantis or something there?
Bermuda Triangle? No. No, I think what happened is there was something in the 1940s. The government was in cahoots with the Greys, and the Greys said, "We'll give you this technology, and using this technology, you can create timeline shifts. But in return, we want," and so there's an exchange, right? So they have a ship, a Navy ship, and there are people who are aware of this experiment in the 1940s who have all agreed and signed off and said, yes, I'll be in the ship. cool. Basically, what's going to happen is we're going to press a lever and a timeline shift is going to occur. You'll be transported to another time, but we're going to bring you back. So don't worry. But everything went wrong. And so they press the button, stuff starts happening, and the people on the ship freak out. Some of them go to run and jump off the ship, but they do not land in the water in the 1940s. They land in the 1980s on Long Island in Montauk. Some of them go to run and they end up embedded in the hull of the ship. Some of them end up materializing and dematerializing, materializing and dematerializing. I can't imagine the horror of this. And this is a true story. This happened. You can look it up. And everything went wrong because once it started, we're just going to call it a lever so to not get into the technology. But once they started and everything went haywire, they got so scared and tried to shut it down mid-experiment. So the people, I will say, who landed in Montauk, Long Island's where I'm from originally, but not Montauk. But it's a very beautiful place in Suffolk County. But there's also a lot of weird things that happen in Montauk that are government related. But these guys, can you imagine being from the 1940s and all of a sudden coming to in the 1980s? Like, that's major. And so they had to go to a government facility to explain who they were, but they still existed in the 1980s. They lost their families, their wives, and all of that. So we have a lot of incredible technology. We don't use a lot of it. Some of it is used to, do fake UAPs and things like that and do other interesting things. But yeah, I mean, that is basically what went on in that. And that was specifically called the Philadelphia experiment.
Do you think that the Bermuda Triangle was completely normal waters before the Philadelphia experiment then?
That's a great question because it received that name at a certain point in our history. And so we all know it was called the Triangle because they say that ships flew into it, like a plane would fly into it and never come back out. A ship would cruise into it and never come out. People disappeared. And so what was it about that vortex? And so, yes, that name was created at a certain point in history because there was a phenomenon going on there that nobody could talk about. And there's this really interesting story about a man who was involved with the government and some, interesting like ET kind of galactic experiments government wise. And he was on a cruise with his family and he was aboard the ship and he was literally saying, I don't know, once I dock or once this vacation with my family who's aboard the ship ends, I don't know how things are going to turn out for me because the government's like, they're cleaning up. And I would be part of that cleaning up, meaning that he very well could have been murdered for what he knew. And so he was really concerned and he was on this ship and this ship went through the Bermuda Triangle. When he came out the other side of the Bermuda Triangle, that piece of his life didn't exist anymore. And he was safe and he lived and his family lived and nothing else happened. There was no threat. And so there's also, I'm saying that because there's also the ability to shift timelines as you go through a vortex like that.
Ooh, so he had memories of these things happening, but nobody else did then?
Well, he knew, I don't know about his family, but it's, a story that I read and I found that fascinating.
It is absolutely fascinating. Anything else you'd like to discuss?
No, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor.
Okay, any final words of wisdom for my audience and where can they find you?
Thank you. Well, so many places. My website is my name. First name is with an I and the last name is with a C. So it's DEBBI, DACHINGER.com. My podcast, Dare to Dream, is on YouTube. You can also find me under my name, Debbi Dachinger. If you would like the Starseed gift, DebbiDachinger.com/Starseed. Or if you'd like to experience a shamanic healing, you could do it monthly or one and done. Come to DebbiDachinger.com/healing. I make this very affordable, very easy to join, and people come from all over the world. And I just want to say thank you for being here at this auspicious time on this planet. You know, if you're here, you came here for a lot of good. Don't ever question the validity of your life or your gifts. Maybe you're just coming online, but welcome, because I think this is the conversation that we're having. This is the conversation now and going forward, and it's going to become even more relevant.
Well, thank you, Debbi Dachinger, and thank you, everybody, for joining us today.